This video, I'm going to deconstruct or illuminate or conceptually map spiritual teachers. So people like not people like myself, but people I am kind of fighting or against or attempting to dominate, right? Because spirituality has become a financial market, which is fundamentally competitive. You know, I want to dominate spiritual teachers, and by spiritual teachers I mean people that teach you to use imaginary things better, right? And so like I work in electricity. I do electrical work as my job, mostly solar, but anything like tangentially related to solar. And then I'm gonna start doing electrical shielding, right? And I've done all the trades a little bit, not too much plumbing, but you know, carpentry, you're fundamentally dealing with like material, and then the only invisible force flowing through the material is gravity. So you're looking at your lumber, you're looking at your room, and everything is kind of like straightforward there, and you can look at an object and kind of feel it, and you know how much energy or how much weight is going through it. Like that's what you're doing with carpentry. It's very straightforward. There's not very much imaginary stuff in carpentry, right? So carpentry is kind of like the boundary between a spirit. It's like the lowest spiritual teacher, because with carpentry you're still dealing with gravity. It's the only abstract term, so you just know all this. Once the boards get too long, they can start to snap, or if it's not thick enough or heavy enough to conduct the gravity. Like every structure that you build is conducting gravity from top to bottom. And so you just have to make sure that none of the little support structures are too thin or whatever, or they're capable of distributing or broadcasting gravity, right? Like if you do an angle or an arch or something like that, the gravity from the top is broadcasted into the ground better. So there's like less chance of of any point failure. So you're looking at, there's not very much abstraction going on there. With electrical stuff, the wire can be carrying like anything at all, and like sometimes it follows the rules. It's supposed to be a particular color, it's supposed to be at this thing, until something goes wrong, or somebody is lazy, or somebody that's installing is imperfect, and then all of a sudden the system doesn't make any sense. Because you're looking at an object and it's not straightforward like gravity. Things can be positive, things can be negative, things can be continuous, things can be pulsing at a frequency. And so there's a lot of abstraction going on there. And so kind of like what spiritual teaching is like, how do you think about all that abstraction? How do I think about how the wires are going to be behaving? What's my story behind that? Like, because there's a lot of stuff in that system that I can't see, and I need to predict its behavior. So like a spiritual teacher kind of tells you what's going on behind that. We go, oh, there's electricity, and we picture that electricity as little waves or like tiny little marbles in some sort of vibrational resonance lock with the atoms, or whatever you call it, an electron orbital. Flows through the outside of the wire, though, pretty much like water. And you use all that stuff to like explain what's going to happen. You have to picture it. And then from there you go into radio, right? Radio can act all sorts of different ways, and there's all sorts of stations, right? Like if you're studying radio frequency, radio waves, electromagnetic radiation, like you're looking at a system and you can get vibrations coming from any different angle, any different wavelength. Some of it's intentional, some of it's natural. And you have to like interpret, what are all these waves? What are they? What's waving? What's waving? What's causing that wave? You might be seeing like that's what a spiritual teacher is, right? You notice something happening in you and you go, why? So scientific, materialistic teachers are kind of like saying, oh, that part of your body is moving because of these connections. This is what's connected to it, and that's why it's being moved. Right? The bone is connected to the muscle, is connected to the fascia, is connected to the cell, is connected to the mitochondria, is connected to the DNA. You know, and you have to say they're all touching, and that's why they're connected, and so that's why this causes that. And then you get to that electrical understanding, and people go, oh, this stuff has energy in it. It's charged. There's electricity flowing through it, and it changes the behavior of that property. Like if you have a wire and it's charged with 10,000 volts and you swing it at another wire, that changes how the system behaves. A big pop, big explosion, just tons of unexplained energy. Why is the energy going there? And you go, well, that's because the energy at the end of the wire was connected to the energy at the hydroelectric dam, right? When you be able to see, information on this level, and you go, the hydroelectric dam energy is actually in the end of that wire, and that's why when you hit the person with that wire, or you touch the other object with that wire, you get this tremendous amount of force, way more force than was put into it just by like moving it according to the Carpenter / gravity / that's touching rules, right? And so you get into that's not touching directly, but it's polarized enough so that the energy wants to go, right? Basically, at one end of the wire is enough energy, it's super polarized, and if it touches a person or another object, it's somehow connected, usually through a wire. And then you get into the other thing, and that's like any, you go, why is any particular system, like your spleen, why is it that way? Well, because it's connected to the bone right there. It's connected to that stuff right there. That's why it's that way. And then someone go, well, it's energetically connected to the bloodstream, and the bloodstream's energetically connected to the brain, and the brain's energetically connected. They're all sharing the same metabolism. And so the metabolism of the spleen is influenced by the metabolism of everything else in the body. It's influenced by everything else it's connected to, because everything is like providing a conduit for a certain type of energy flow. Energy's flowing from everything into everything else at a frequency and at a concentration. It might be low, it might be high, it might be minuscule, but everything's flowing into everything else all the time. And so those are the things that influence each other. And then you go, why? And then the next level of that is the radiation. Everything is tuning into everything else, at least a little bit. Everything is tuning into everything else. It's affecting it non-locally, like a room full of tuning forks, to greater or lesser degrees. But it's happening infinitely in all directions with all objects and all things. And people go, and it's like, yeah, all of these things are like true, and you can see the toning happening instantly, and the toning happening at a different time scale is what looks like, touching gravity. And vice versa, you can see how any of these effects that I'm talking about is like just kind of the same effect at a different time scale. You can see it's all sort of one. And that's what you get spiritual teachers taught you, like, right? That's what they do. They teach you about that stuff. Invisible, imaginary things, like stuff that's purely imaginary. And the more imaginary it is, the more spiritual of a teacher they are. But it's like people go, oh, what's imaginary isn't real. And it's like, it's real. And there's all sorts of different arts and sciences, and the arts and those sciences take the exact same progression as carpentry to electrician to radio operator to, right? And each one, they're all valid causality trees. They're all happening at the exact same time. They're all completely overlaid, and everything other than up to gravity, but even gravity is going into the imaginary, but gravity is at the surface of the imaginary, and then everything else is going deeper and deeper and deeper into the imaginary. And it's not like that isn't real, but it's invisible. And so the lines that, it's like the water that how is the water under the ocean connected? Right? That's what we're trying to explain. That's what a spiritual person is trying to explain, is like, you're in the ocean and you can go, there's a wave, there's a wave, there's a wave. Okay, I've figured out a way to describe water, very eloquent. Then the instant you look underwater and you go, that water is impacting that water there. Okay, how are they connected? Draw it. What's the direct connection? What's the energetic connection between two underwater areas? Right? Pick any two underwater areas, two underwater blobs of water, and connect them. Where's the physical connection? Where's the energetic connection? From what into where? What's resting on what? And then where's the radio frequency connection? Where's the resonance connection? Does it not exist? If none of those things exist, you would have to say, oh, the water's not connected. Well, if you think about it, though, it's what's going from what to where? It's incomprehensible. It's not like it's not there, but it's not. It can't become subject to any of those ways of breaking it apart. It's like actually simpler and easier to understand. You can look at water and you go, oh, it's there. It's touching. It's influencing each other because it's one thing. And then somebody goes, oh, well, I can separate them. And you go, okay, separate it. Well, the instant that you separate the one thing of water, it becomes subject to the comprehension of the touching or flowing or radio frequency, the two blobs of water interacting with each other. So it's when the waters pull apart into two objects, it's comprehensible. But when you have just water, and you go, how is that water connected to that water? You can't. It's like the water is there. I can point there, not at the Indian Ocean. Right? I can point right there and not some other place. It's like there. It's a place. How could you possibly argue with me that I'm not pointing at anything? But there's truly nothing there to point at besides the entire thing. And for any demarcations or isolations of any of the water inside of the water, the same thing. Like if you took it out and separated it completely, you could say something about how it communicates with the rest of the water because you like removed its direct, obvious connection. And then this is the incomprehensibility that people have when they go, oh, it's beyond words. It's beyond words, exactly like the water is beyond words. It's just like that. And that's why it's like that when people just try and describe the other qualities and the other nature. And so, yes, spiritual teachers explain how all that works. And quote unquote, how to get better at it, right? I mean, that's what they're explaining. And so anything that they explain about consciousness in that undifferentiated self isn't it. It's not it until you've done it so much that you've actually taken the water and separated it from the other water, and then it's like a totally different thing. And then that's the hurdle. And if you understand what I'm saying and you look at it, you go, oh wow, that's crazy. That's a paradox right there. It's like so offered there. Right? It offers nothing but these paradoxes as proof of its existence, sort of. In plain sight. And all of it is hidden in plain sight, just like that. So yeah, I think if we worked at it a little bit, I think it's easy. I think you can learn how to float. I think floating is easy. Like if I had some people training with me, or was able to just focus on it like an athlete, I'm pretty sure floating is like not a problem at all. You can use the water to access the very foundational skills of controlling your buoyancy and your density with your breath, and just like rep it until it gets strong enough. Like it's right there. It's super easy to get. You can use water. It's right there to do the basic thing. And it's like, yeah, way too weak for it to work. But that's what it's doing. It's just getting the exercise once, and then you just spam it for what, a couple years? A decade, whatever. How long people train so hard to like do super hard shit like skateboarding, and I think floating would be way, way, way easier than an ollie, to be honest. So like kind of hard, but I think almost anybody could do it. It's no harder than like good parkour, and there's a bunch of stuff like that. But I guess you have to think about the imagination in the right way. Otherwise it seems like really impractical.